Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, just to review or reflect on a Nakuda that we've spoken about before in the past, which is the aspect of what the Mittler Rebbe brings down numerous times. The Mittler Rebbe, the second Rebbe of Lubavitch, the son of the Balatanya Slusi Ogen Aleinu, singularly unique tzaddik in the capacity to describe the depths of the experience that a human being feels, specifically when they feel removed from the infinite light of the Rebbeinu Shalom Kavyachol, that the Mittler Rebbe quotes a teaching in the name of his father, in the name of his father's teacher, who was the Heilige Maggid of Mizrich. And the teaching is as follows: that Ein Moiser Nes Meisim Merkava Ela Lamisha Libo Doi Bekirbo. The Gemara in Chagiga by Meisim Merkava, Chazal tell us that we do not reveal the secrets of the chariot, Meisim Merkava, except to those whose heart is worried within them. And what the Mittler Rebbe describes is that Kach Shamati mi Avi Sheshama mi Moiro, that I heard from my father, who heard from his teacher, that EF Lahavinis Razin de Araisa, La'oimkam, that it's impossible to understand the secrets of Torah in their depths. Ela Mishi Yeshlo Hamara Shchoira Hativis Hamushrash Boy Menu'urav, except a person who has that general tendency towards an element of what we might refer to as despondency or a melancholic tendency. It is specifically a person like that who has that encounter with themselves from the beginning of their identity. Only a person like that is going to be capable of understanding the teachings of Torah in their depths, as it says, Ein moiser ma'aseh merkava ela lemish shelibo doi bekirbo. The Heilige Tzaddik Rav Hillel Paritcher, Schlusi Ogen Aleinu, based on this klal that he heard from his Rebbe, from the Mittler Rebbe, he would convey the halachic reality that somebody who is in Avelus is able to learn Pnimiyas HaTorah, and that there's a shita that says that one can learn Pnimiyas HaTorah on Tisha B'Av itself, because the entire tachlis of Pnimiyas HaTorah is on a certain level different than other elements of Torah, because the goal of Pnimiyas HaTorah is to alleviate the pain that the individual is experiencing. It's made to bring nechama to the individual. The entire edifice of Pnimiyas HaTorah operates in two streams, the ideal stream and the real stream. The ideal stream is that stream of reality and the unfolding of the Torah that is true for the tzaddikim amitim. And I can only speak for myself in terms of relating to the second stream, which is that when the bottom drops out and when a person realizes that we're very far from accessing Pnimiyas HaTorah on that ideal level, of deserving to access Pnimiyas HaTorah, of being worthy of engaging in Pnimiyas HaTorah, there's a secondary entry point in which a person realizes that I need Pnimiyas HaTorah because it's the only thing that is going to allow me to survive. It's not because I'm deserving, but it's because I'm so sick that this is the medicine that I need. And at that point, this path of entry into Pnimiyas HaTorah is as authentic as the first path. It's a different avodah. One is the avodah of a tzaddik, one is the avodah of a Baal Tshuva. But we know that there's a hisayrus and the avodah of a Baal Tshuva who has shaykhis to Pnimiyas HaTorah in a way that even the tzaddikim who are not Balei Tshuva, at least yet, because we know that Mashiach Tzidkenu comes to teach the tzaddikim amitim how to be chayzer b'tshuva, to give them the light of that light that emerges out of darkness. But there is a path of the Baal Tshuva orientation that comes towards Pnimiyas HaTorah, not out of a place of deservedness or understanding, but out of a place of urgency. The exigency of the moment demands that I gain access to the deepest medicines available in order to give me chayim, in order to allow me to continue. And that is the tachlis of Pnimiyas HaTorah, to give a person a sense of chayim, to give a person a sense of the air of Gan Eden that remains in the stifling and suffocating air of a world of exile. Because without the memory, without the opening of those pockets of the air of Gan Eden, a person can be suffocated in the air of this world, in the polluted air of outside of Gan Eden. And for a nefesh chalusha, for a weakened type of soul, which is rooted in the overabundance of expression and vessels that are in their infancy, like the neshamos that come from the world of tohu, who are margish, this tsar, this tsara, v'es tsuka, every moment in a person's life demands that I grab hold of the deepest medicine available to me to give me access to connecting to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now, not only is this the ultimate truth for the certain type of path into Pnimiyas HaTorah, but it's also the mechanism necessary in order to access Pnimiyas HaTorah in its therapeutic form, in its medicinal form, so to say. that it is specifically in accordance with the difficulty, in accordance with the sense of urgency that is born out of the dechiku desha'a, out of the composition of the moment as it compresses inwards, where it begins to get thicker and tighter, or where it begins to feel more claustrophobic in the person's mind, specifically from that Eis Tzara V'Tzuka, that Bein HaMitzarim, that Dechiku Desha'a, the Shasat, where there is a compression of sorts, where the self begins to feel a little bit suffocated in the smallness of the space in which I'm able to reflect because I no longer have access to the outside. And it's specifically from that place, from that Dechiku, that a person is going to encounter the unfolding of their desire and the recognition that I need Pnimius HaTorah. Lule sarascha sha'ashua azavadeti bioni. And so the mariris over whatever it is that a person is feeling in the present moment, particularly, generally, in any level of their experience, it's specifically the hargashas hayitzurin, the feeling of tzama, of thirst, of a yearning after something that I don't have, that is going to be the very mechanism through which I draw down the shefa of Pnimius HaTorah. Because the sicker I feel, the more beneficial the medicine is going to be. And the more desperate a person is, the higher up they're going to reach when they raise their eyes on high and say, Rabbeinu Shalom, I need your life vest right now. I can't live another second with living in this world of separation and fragmentation and suffering and darkness. I need to know the deepest secret of it all. I need the Einon Milvado of it all. I need the Yichud of it all. I need the depths of Pnimius HaTorah, the Razin to reorient me and to give me vitality again so I can get up and face another day. And at that moment, when it's a tefillah liani kiyatov, the prayer of the impoverished individual who has nothing but their tefillah right now, I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose. There's nothing for me to lose anymore. I'm already at the bottom, as the Heligat Tzaddikim said. So when we're already at the bottom, there's nothing to lose in asking for the highest light imaginable. And it's specifically in accordance with that mariris over the absence of Pnimius HaTorah, over the absence of Rachok Mimeni Menachem Meshav Nafshi. I'm missing that Nechama. I'm missing that or of Rashbi. I'm missing that or of Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm missing that or of Rabbeinu HaArizal, of the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, of Rabbeinu Nachman ben Feiga, Nachal Nevei Makar Chachman, all of the Tzaddikim Amitim. That's when I feel that I'm actually missing that. That is where the hashpa of the Torah is going to come from. Lule sarascha sha'ashua azavaditi bioni. Lule sarascha sha'ashua. If I want to access the playfulness of your Torah, the Torah that is going to be mamtik, all of the dinim, the Torah of the sha'ashuim ha'elyonim that are megala, the secret of mineu bay of enagre, that from the forest itself comes the handle for the axe, and that simsum is just a reflection of the infinitude that it's coming to cover over. If a person wants to gain access into that, the person has to mamish feel azavaditi bioni. In accordance with the azavaditi bioni that I feel, in accordance with the feeling that I can't move forward without utilizing the deepest secrets in the world to give me the courage to face another day with emunah, with bitachon, with simcha, with rikud, with Talmud Torah, with hiskabrus, with chesed, with all of the affirmative stances that we so desperately need to be engaged in every moment in our lives, it's in accordance with the sense of azavaditi bioni. I need the Torah. I need the Torah. I can't survive without the Torah. And at that moment, suddenly the Torah appears to us immediately, and Pnimius HaTorah begin to have their effect on us. We begin to walk a little bit softer, a little bit lighter, a little bit more confidently. How? Why? Based on what rational knowledge? We don't know. We have no idea whatsoever, but we become far more comfortable with not knowing. This is the fundamental expression of where Pnimius HaTorah came from. It was Niskala specifically in a time where there was such a miyut halavavos, the hearts were so broken and so unconscious that it was by definition necessary in order to awaken the Jewish people. This was like the Or of the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. It wasn't because we were deserving, it was because we were dying. And as a result of that death-bringing sleep and slumber, we needed to begin to dream again. And the Baal Shem Tov whispered his name into our ear and allowed us to dream, to come out of our stupor, to come out of our spiritual and physical coma. And in this moment, a person has to understand the deep need for a Torah that is merape the nefesh. Whether it's chitzonius Torah, pnimius Torah, it's not dependent on the content, it's dependent on the context, as the Yosha Dever Emma says. Person can learn Shas all day, and they could be oisik in the depth of pnimius because it's breaking their heart, and a person could be oisik in Kabbalah all day, and they could be engaged in the depth of chitzonius because it's filling their head. And ultimately, it's about the context in which I'm learning Torah. But when I sit before a sefer, the first hargasha is that azavaditi bioni. Without this, I'm dead, and therefore a person will run into that sefer like the ir miklat that it actually is. The Baal HaSulam, the Hilga Baal HaSulam, Schusi Ogan Aleinu, who spoke so much of the necessity, the spiritual and existential necessity of cultivating a very delicate space for desire within the spiritual realm, within my neshama, because desire is a fundamental reality. There's a ratzon l'kabel. A person is born with a desire to receive something. That desire is not going away, but what that desire is geared towards is going to be the definitive shift in how a person functions. Is that desire going to be motivated towards self-sufficiency and Kabbalah amanas lahanos and Kabbalah amanas lakabel and receiving for the sake of receiving, or is it going to be a Kabbalah amanas lahashpia? Is it going to be an opening up of myself, of making myself into a receptacle, an empty thing, in order to give over? So the answer is that by recognizing my deficiency, by recognizing my emptiness, by recognizing that my desire for something is not rooted in a furious hunger that seeks actual satisfaction, but rather my desire itself bears the very essence of my satisfaction, because it's in accordance with my desire that I am then going to draw down the satisfaction. It's a Kabbalah amanas lahashpia. I'm receiving something because I've made myself into a kli kibul. I've emptied myself out. I've recognized my deficiency at the core of myself, and it's specifically then that I'm going to gain the access that I need to be mashpia, that the Torah is going to be mushba into me, and that I'll be able to be mashpia that Torah. And you have the Talmidim of the Baal HaSulam who were writing letters to their Rebbe about wanting more svarim, needing more svarim, and the Baal HaSulam would say, what pain are you in? Where is the suffering? Where is the absence in your life as a result of the lack of these Torahs? Because until you could show me what you're missing by this Torah, you don't have access to the Torah. It's not a game of deserving or not. That it is only when a person feels that azavaditi bioni, that Torah is going to be koilate, it's going to hit the place that it needs to hit, it's going to give chayim in the place of mavas. That it's specifically when a person is walking in the valley in the shadow of death that they're going to understand the truest power of chayim. And this is what the Zidichover Rebbe was saying when he says that people came to him and they said, what are you talking about? You want 3-year-olds to be learning Zohar Kadosh, you want 5-year-olds to be learning the Arizal. How could it be? A person needs Tahara, a person needs to be Kadosh and Tahor and all levels of Kedusha and Tahara, and you're saying young children should be learning it? The Heilige Zidichover said, he says, I understand, but tell me, what else should I do? How else is a person going to survive? That when a person realizes that I need this Torah in order to get up in the morning, not to be someone who's a Bal Hasaga, not to be a tzaddik, not to be a Mokubal, but to simply breathe, then the Torah is mushba, then the Torah becomes a Makom Chayim, then it becomes Kol HaMechubel Chayim, Chayim Yikra. That anybody who's connected to the Torah's Chayim, the infinite or that's melubash in the Torah, has this profound ability to shift the individual from the place that they're at into the place that they want to be. And that's a very real thing. But it's in accordance with the deep sense of urgency that if I don't have this Torah, I am not going to make it. There's a Maisa about the Mittler Rebbe, that the Balatanya, his father, would carry around a very secret book, a book of Panimius HaChasidus, a tradition that was given over from one generation to the other, an anonymous book, like Rabbi Nachman Sefer Agonas, like Rabbi Nachman Sefer Nisraf. These books, these unwritten books, these books of wisdom that was not yet roi to be miskala, but at least we know about the fact that this wisdom was once niskala, and then it was concealed, which gives us access to these books as well. And there was a fire in the Balatanya's office, and ultimately this book was Nisraf. And the Balatanya came running to his son, the Mittler Rebbe. He says, please, tell me what you remember from that book. Tell me what you remember for that book. Tell me any piece of Hasidus that you remember. And the Mittler Rebbe is standing there. He says, Abba, that book had a gzeira written on it that anybody who opens this hidden book is going to be chayiv kares in this world and the next, and they're going to lose their chelik and olam haba, they're going to lose their chelik and olam hazeh. And the Mittler Rebbe says, I didn't look. I followed the rules. I didn't look. And the Balatanya looked at him and he says, with a big sigh, he says, where in the world is the Mesiras Nefesh for Panimius HaTorah? Where in the world is the Mesiras Nefesh for Torah HaChasidus? And we can't understand what that means, else the Mittler Rebbe, whose very blood was Ma'amari Chasidus. But what it means, Legabenu, is that in accordance with the recognition that I don't want, it's no longer about Olam Haba, Olam Haza, it's about survival. And in a moment of survival, all of those cheshbonos go out. I throw myself into the Torah because it's the only thing that I'm going to find. It's the only context through which I'm going to be able to view my world. It's the only framing that I'm going to enable myself to look at the world that has become more difficult in a revealed way, not different than it ever has been, but the need and the urgency is far more present in this moment in history. Ultimately, a person has to cultivate that sense, that desire, that disquietude at the heart of the self as a motivating factor to run deeper into the books of Torah. When a person opens up the book of Torah, the question has to be, what is hurting me and how am I going to find the response, the tikkun, the rectification, the calmness, the darchei noam, the pleasantness from the Torah? How am I going to be cured from the Torah? How am I going to be comforted by the Torah? How am I going to listen to the shah of the sha'ashuim of the Torah, that quieting of the self? The Torah is there. Torah Hashem tamima meshivas nafesh zakta meshiloach. Meshivas nafesh means that only when a person feels that there's something lost that needs to be returned, so too is the Torah going to return it to them. Meaning to say that first I have to understand the lost object. First I have to understand that I lose things in this world. We open up with Bava Mitzia, Elu Mitzia Shalo, Ve'elu Chayv Lahachariz. Very young age, we learn very quickly that yes, we own and we lose, and people don't have and they find, and they return and they take and they minimize, etc., etc. We lose things. Azavada tibioni. But it's specifically from that knowledge of losing something, of meshivas nafesh, k'mu hashavas aveda, like the Meshilach says. In accordance with that, it's going to be Torah Hashem Tamima, that the Torah is going to be mashlemi, the Torah is going to give me more to help me reveal that even though I'm never perfect, that imperfection is just a motivating factor for more. The desire is a motivating factor for more. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov explains this explicitly when he says that by the Chavraya Kadisha, by the Chevra of Rashbi, and you see this in the Zohar Kadosh, there's an urgency. Every moment of the book is saturated with an urgency for Torah. Pasach pichu ve'yidiru devarecha. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that's on a person's lips. I can't survive without a word of Torah. Give me something. What do you have for me? What do you have for me from this Sam HaChaim, from this drug of life? What can you give me to give me Chaim right now? Because without that, I'm al saf hamavas. I'm al saf hamavas, as the Vilna Gaon points out. That lule scharascha sha'ashua azavaditi bioni. Without opening my mind to the yichud ilah, to the yichud tata, to the leis asar panim minei, to the secrets of emes la'amiso, to the secrets of the schok ha'elyon, to the secrets of the sha'ashuin hapnimim, without access to these Torahs, it's almost impossible for a person to pick their head up out of the drowning waters of this world. But when I realize that all I have is mibeten sha'ol sha'avasi, that I cry out to you from the abysmal depths, as Rabbi Nachman says, which is the ikar nekuda in avodas Hashem, to cry out. It's specifically there at the moment of our hopelessness, at the edge of our urgency, are we going to find the hamshacha, the shefa, the chayim, the ability to live a little bit more. Mashiach Tzidkenu doesn't come ela behesach hadas. Mashiach Tzidkenu doesn't come until behesach hadas. The hesach hadas on a certain level means that Hesach Hadas is right now it's survival. I'm not thinking, I'm not contemplating what necessarily has to be done in accordance with the rules or the regulations that apply when I'm in a state of functionality. In a moment of Chaim v'Mavis, a person has to allow themselves. Eis lasos la'Hashem hifru sarasecha. There's a dechiku d'sha'a, and a person has to gird themselves with the strength and the confidence to believe in the power of their neshama to utilize the or of the Torah in a way that's going to benefit them. And Rabbi Nachman points out that as a result of this mibeten sha'ol sha'avasi, so too is going to be the Torah that comes down. When the Talmidim of Rashbi cried, there was more Torah. There were tears of revelation. There was a bechia. There was a sense that I can't live without this nakuda of or that is available in my mind at every time. When I open up through that desire for more hiskalos alikus comes down to me. Yasam machakaloi, ayin loy ra'az loscha. There's no eye that has beheld the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yasam machakalo. It's going to be prepared and performed for he who waits for it. This waiting, this anticipatory desire to draw down the light of Torah, to be machayim my nefesh, to be meshiv my nefesh, to redeem those who have fallen. Each and every person is the noifel, and each and every person has a smicha to that nefila when we open ourselves up to realize that all we're yearning for is the or of Torah. All we're yearning for is the or of hasaga, for the or of yichud, to be mahapich ourselves into a kli of Torah by way of the desire for the Torah. And Rabbi Nachman explains this avoida, this fact that we're going to need this in our lives in a very powerful way. I just closed where I had, so give me 1 second. What Rabbi Nachman describes, I'm going to try and find the Makor. What Rabbi Nachman describes is that a king has a son. A king has a son who's exceedingly ill. The king has a son who's exceedingly ill. And as a result of this, the doctors were miyayish from the refuah. The doctors were miyayish from the refuah because ultimately what it would take to cure this child, what it would take to perhaps ulai yesh tikva to cure this child, so then it's so likely that the child is not going to survive that the cure would be far too overwhelming for the king than to even try. Melech Echad, there was one king, Shechala beno Yechida biyoter, whose singular son got sicker than ever. Until all of the doctors had given up hope and they had moved their hands away from trying to cure him. In the middle of this entire process, there arrived a doctor of profound wisdom. And the king begged of this doctor that he should engage with his son. And this doctor, this Roif and Mumcha, said to the king the truth. His cure is so far, and it's such a distant possibility. But nevertheless, but there's simply one more thing that can be done. Then there's a possibility that there might be a refuah. But I don't know, says the doctor to the king, if I should tell you about this process, because it's a very heavy thing and it's a very difficult process. And the king pushed and urged him to reveal this eitzah, this medical process. Amar lo, he says, Teda, you should know, your son is incredibly sick, in a very dire situation. To the degree that we can't even get one drop of the necessary medicine into his mouth. But there are profoundly expensive and valuable medicinal qualities. But in truth, there's a singular type of medicine where one drop is worth more than thousands and thousands of drops of other medicine. And all your child needs is one drop, but in order to potentially give him one drop, what we need to do is we need to fill up thousands and thousands of barrels and to pour them upon your child in the hopes that maybe one drop will enter in properly. And it's obvious. It's abundantly clear that all of this valuable medicine, most of it, 99.9% of it, is going to go to waste completely. But nevertheless, and perhaps his body will gain a little bit of strength. And maybe if we pour so much upon it, maybe one drop is going to actually enter in. And as the result of this, it's possible of a possibility that he'll have a refuah. And immediately the king decreed that this should be done. As a result of this, the king's son was cured. The true expression of this tale is obvious. That as a result of the deep sickness that we find ourselves in, the choili nefesh, we need the tzaddikim, we need the yechidei hadoros, we need Moshe, we need Rashbi, we need the Ari, we need the Baal Shem Tov, we need Rabbi Nachman, we need the tzaddikim in our generation. We need the most powerful types of medicine. Even though it appears at first glance that everything is being wasted. Nevertheless, there's a good smell that's going to be caught. And as the days emerge, and perhaps as the days continue, maybe we'll be able to grab one particular drop of it, and it will enter into our mouths and enter into the insides of ourselves. That through this maybe there's going to be tikva to have the complete refuah shalem b'ruach nisub gashmias. Amen. Ken Yiratzon. Amen. So too should it be His will. Be'ezras Hashem.